The way that we prepare fish and chips here is probably unlike any other place. And people will be really surprised and delighted with our fish and chips because most people's reference is frozen fish. But this we take it to the next level. It's not about volume, it's one day a week and we make it until it's sold out. All right, so we have our local halibut coming in for our fish and chip night every Wednesday. It's one of those nostalgic dishes that Rory and I loved eating as kids growing up on Cape Cod. Halibut here is a sustainable catch. This fish is coming from the Channel Islands. It's actually a national park just off of the Ventura coast. It has this really moist, large flake on its pretty neutral tasting flesh. In undergrad, I studied environmental science. So much of the programs of sustainability that we put into place are based off of all that background. We're gonna save the carcass of the fish to roast and make a fume with it. In Iceland, they cure fish skin and make like belts and purses and maybe bikinis out of it. It's really crazy. Here we don't do that. Our servings of fish and chips, you get 2 pieces per. These are 2.5 ounces each. So you're getting about 5 ounces of this beautiful halibut. We make our batter right before service starts, and that is flour, baking soda, cornstarch. We have our lightest beer on tap, which is usually a lager. The alcohol in the liquid actually acts to prohibit the formation of gluten strands. If you want something crispy, crackly, and light that breaks easily, you want to make sure that you keep those gluten strands from developing. And then it's just this like effervescent pancake mix. I'm hitting it with a little bit of a salt pepper mix so that it gets nice and seasoned. Dry dredge, and we're gonna dip it. Lay it down slow. We usually do 1.5 minutes as a par fry for a big batch because that's a small fryer, and then we'll put it in after because it's tempered for 1 minute longer. Look at that crispy crackly. Those light and golden local halibut go on a bed of our fries, which is a 2-day process for our fries. Gorgeous golden. We toss that with salt, pepper, and some chopped parsley. Halibut right on top, and that gets served with our house-made tartar sauce. So all of those things have to line up to make a perfect fish and chips. Rory's Place is a collaboration between Rory and I. We grew up together in our mom's cafe and bakery and also in our dad's art gallery. And then we came together to make this dream restaurant.
We work with dozens of farmers, seafood purveyors, ranchers in this area, and they all specialize in different things.
It's just bustling almost 24/7. Characters coming through the door bringing us fresh produce, fish, meat, sheet trays of different vegetables, and alliums are going in and out of the wood fire. It's like we can put all of those practices of care and sustainability and community to work here. Hi. Put them here. Beautiful. We talk to our farmers every day, and so they're giving us a heads up on the different vegetables and varieties that are going in, what will be ready when, and that is a big part of the inspiration for our menu.
Look at how neon they are.
I know, this is some fresh olive oil. You know it's homemade because the labels they used to use in the 90s. Okay, so we have these big, beautiful pumpkins that just came in from Sabrina. Been curing for months, so they're like really tender and their starches have developed into sugars. I wanted to have dense, sweet meat to it so that when it blends, it's really, really smooth and thick, not starchy. We compost everything. All of our vegetable scraps go up to Shepherdess Land and Livestock. By creating this closed loop nutrient cycle, we are helping them build really great soils that are nutrient dense, and that means that we get really incredible, flavorful, nutrient dense vegetables right back. So now, once we have this all cubed up, we're gonna throw it into a pot with some veggie stock and steam it till it is really, really tender for the base of that really rich, luxurious sauce on our charred cabbage. This is really satisfying to puree because it just breaks down almost immediately and you get a really smooth texture. That is white wine vinegar. That's the reduced cream. Oh, this is the shit that they put on the menu at the local public schools and they serve it to them as mac and cheese and the kids are like, this isn't mac and cheese. It's pumpkin puree, but they're getting their veggies. And then it just needs some salt and heat. Perfect. Okay. If you have a fruit or vegetable sitting out or in a warehouse for a really long time, technically it's rotting already. So when we're sourcing locally or from our farmers, they're picking that day. It's the closest you can get from pulling it right out of the ground.
You know, when you bring something to the chef and see it transformed into a whole new thing, that just something you couldn't even comprehend, it's pretty special.
One thing you'll notice is the density. They're not spongy or airy, they're just like super crispy. You can hear that when you cut into them. They have a sweetness, a butteriness, a nuttiness. Cabbages, they grow really well here in the winter. So every year we try and come up with a really exciting and unique cabbage pickup. This is our Sheerrock olive oil, salt, pepper, and in the oven. These are gonna roast for about 25 minutes, rotating every 7 minutes, so they get a nice even brown. So for service, we'll put a couple of wedges into a French steel. We tuck it in the back of the oven close so it heats it all the way through and continues to tenderize. And then we have the pumpkin sauce that gets a little pool on the bottom of the plate, and then that is topped with all of these winter herbs. That goes over the top of the cabbage, and the brown butter and those crispy herbs kind of like float in that silky pumpkin sauce, and it is really tasty. We are definitely known for our raw bar and really proud of all of the sourcing that goes into the bounty that we share with folks. The Santa Barbara uni is some of the most sought after and is sold in the sushi markets in Japan. It's really, really special that we get to have this and get this in twice a week. The uni and the crabs and the mussels all coming from the Channel Islands and up to Santa Barbara. We have 3 different types of raw oysters on the half shell. So we go through about 2,000 fresh oysters a week. Beautiful, clean shells. I mean, they're really, really gorgeous. You can trip out on them all day. The broiled oysters are definitely a crowd pleaser. They are very, very popular. We often use the grassy bar oysters, which are the deeper cut, most local oysters we have here, and a generous scoop of fermented chili butter that we make. The combination of the salinity and brininess of the oyster and the decadence of the butter and then the acidity from the vinegar, everything, it just like makes your mouth water. So it's a huge hit here.
Hey, fly over to Rory. Yeah, we grew up in Venice, in California. Our mom had a bakery originally. She had one in Jamaica Plain in Boston. She moved to Los Angeles with our dad. But I would say that the thing that we learned in the bakery, playing around in the kitchen, was like how much joy there is in that, like experimenting and playing. And I think that that spirit of play and curiosity is embodied in Rory's place, and it's a really important part of it.
It's bringing back that nostalgia and that really special time growing up together. So we're making the sous vide for the steak dish right now. It's been on since day one, and it is our most popular dish. So it's a traditional vinegary onion sauce that is French, and usually you get the caramelization of the sugars from the onion by cooking it for a really long time in vinegar. The wood-fired oven is a signature flavor that we add to a lot of our food here, so I changed a classic sauce into something that really fits Rory's place. And this begins the 1 to 2 hour roast. That's why we leave the skin on, so that you can continue to cook the onion without getting any color, but the inside of it is getting softer, caramelized, sweeter. When those are done, we finish peeling them, and that's when we drop them into our cream butter mixture. We have grass-fed steak. It's coming from Kansas City, and it is wet aged for about 30 to 60 days.
Yeah, I mean, working here is awesome, and I'm actually from here. My family has a citrus farm here, so I'm really proud to work at a place that holds those same values as well. Like, yeah, all these scraps are going to a local farmer to help feed his pigs, to help with his compost. Yeah, it just feels good, honestly. This is one side of the steak right here, clean, ready to go.
Then we salt and pepper brine it for 15 to 20 minutes before we cook it off. Then it gets cooked in the wood-fired oven to a medium rare and served over that charred onion sous vide, which pretty much takes all day to make. And then it comes with a nice roasted torpedo onion that we get from Earth Trine Farm down the street.
Well, we named this place Rory's Place because we thought it kind of embodied this like friendly pub-like living room style restaurant. I mean, we originally thought it was going to be like 20 seats and it would literally just be the two of us working here, but that quickly changed and we now have like 100 seats here and another 40 at the cafe.
It is a queer and women-owned restaurant, and so it's really important for us that there are those other voices being represented in this industry. It's an easy thing to come and enjoy a meal here, but it also is a choice in supporting all of this food shed. Food can taste great and be exciting, unexpected, and delicious, and be really good for you.
Thank you, Chef.
You got it.